Hello and welcome to this week's Hippie Hyena. So, if you've been paying attention to sort of world events, especially those in the Western world, especially those in America, or pretty much all of the Western world is happening here too, you'll probably have noticed that something is going on with the workers, with us workers, us working types. And what that is a lot of them have kind of had enough. Kind of had enough of the way that the system is treating us, and there's been something which people have been calling the Great Resignation, especially after the sort of COVID lockdowns, people working from home. They don't really want to go back and sort of reprioritizing their lives to favour, well, their lives rather than their boss's whims. And sort of added on to that is the growing anti-work movement, which is kind of attached to a subreddit called r/anti-work. Check it out, 'cause it's kind of awesome. Which is kind of a coalition between socialists, people who think that we should be working towards a situation where we no longer need to work, and people who just hate Mondays. So let's see how Fox News is handling this issue. Let's see how they're representing it to their viewers, because it sort of presents a bit of a problem for them, you know, presents a bit of a problem because they kind of represent the interests of the bosses who are wanting people to get back to work. You know, that's pretty much all they do. So let's see how they discuss this new phenomena.
Meanwhile, is the key to success working hard or hardly working?
See, right out of the gate, is the key to success working hard or hardly working? What do you mean by success? It's so filled with bias. What do you mean by success? You know, are you talking about, like, living a happy life? You know, because I probably think that kind of working hard is kind of the opposite of that, you know? I mean, this is something that you'll get from me and not from very many of the other left-leaning channels, but I think working hard sucks. You know, it's a thing that everyone thinks, but hardly anyone says. Working hard is awful. It sucks. It blows. And we should be doing everything we can to not do that, because it's making us miserable. It's totally mental. Like, you know, and it's connected to how they're framing this. What is success? They're imagining success as being this sort of high-flying businessman type, you know, like basically like the dad from Hook or Peter Pan before it's revealed that he's Peter Pan. Spoiler alert for Hook. Like a person who is sort of constantly involved in like business and stuff and is amassing money, but basically has no interests outside of amassing money, so that money's kind of pointless. And they're not spending time with their loved ones. They are just kind of spending all their time playing this meaningless game, amassing points for no reason. That to me doesn't sound like success. That sounds like a life wasted, to be honest. You know, what looks like success to me is like maybe you're in a forest with your loved ones around you. There's a fire. You've got a guitar, maybe. You're singing a song. You've got maybe someone's brought some weed or some magic mushrooms. You're having a good time, you know? You're enjoying the company of other human beings and the natural bounties of nature. That sounds like success to me. And pretty much all of that's free. So it's just like they've already, in the first opening sentence, framed it in such a way that anything they say from now on, from my perspective, will be wildly wrong. Just totally mirror universe on its head, opposites stay wrong.
Some Reddit users say the latter, as an anti-work thread, emerges as one of the social network's most engaged pages. That's sad. Encouraging people to quit their jobs or do the absolute minimum to get by at work while still taking a paycheck. Where does America's work ethic go? Can we get it back?
The question is, why should we? What is good about it? Because I think working for work's sake just sucks. It's totally pointless. You know, I mean, all this talk about we need to be productive. Productive for who? For what? What waste of time? You know, the reason this newsreader sounds almost aggrieved, incensed, how dare they abandon hard work, is because this whole like work ethic of working hard being some sort of good thing in its own right, it serves nobody but the elites. You know, it serves nobody but the bosses and the landlords. That's it. It doesn't serve us. And like, how dare he? It's like a newsreader, a guy who just sits there and reads a teleprompter wearing a stupid looking suit with a flipping short haircut. Tell us we need to work, we need to be interested in working harder. Get lost. It's not like you ever do any work. This isn't work. You're not working hard. You're getting paid to be vain. Read someone else's words. Jesus.
Let's ask Fox and Friends Weekend co-host Pete Hegseth. Pete.
Brian, thank you so much. It's a great question. Basic work ethic or just skimming as low as you can go to barely keep your job. Let's ask somebody who knows a little bit about, well, working very hard himself. Vivek Ramaswamy, he's a biotech entrepreneur and author of the book that many of you have and love, Woke Inc. Vivek, thanks for being here. Look forward to hearing about what you're going to talk about at the summit today as well. But when you look at this idea of work ethic, where has it gone?
Look, I think we've incentivized the loss of work ethic in our country. I often joke around that Biden's most effective job training program was actually training people to stay at home, to pay them to stay at home, and it's worked. And the problem is once you actually take away those unemployment benefits, many of which were, I think, superfluous, entirely unnecessary over the course of the last year.
Again, for some mad reason, the chudosphere has like this weird amnesia towards the fact that we were in a goddamn pandemic, you morons.
People still don't like to go back to work because they've already become acclimated to this new culture of laziness and to staying home.
Good. People should embrace laziness more. Laziness is awesome, okay? That's how we enjoy our lives, you know, by participating in leisure time. These idiots want to understand wealth in terms of like numbers in a bank account. And you know, on the other hand, it's also a popular sort of Marxist idea that wealth is labor. But I don't think it's really either of those things. I think wealth is lack of labor. It's leisure. It's the ability to be lazy. That's what wealth is, you know. And these people have set up this system to trick us into thinking that wealth is something other than what it actually is. And what's happening is that people are starting to realize there's a cheat code where instead of having to grind through the nonsense, you can go straight to the wealth and have the leisure right now. And of course, these people are going to be annoyed about that because they set up this game because they want us to keep playing this stupid game. But I mean, what are we even doing here on this planet at all? You know, what is the purpose in it? Why is it that we're spending the vast majority of our time working on someone else's projects, working hard on something we don't really believe in? You know, for most people, if you were to ask them, okay, why am I doing this job? Is it making the world a better place? No. Is it making people happier? Not really. Not even the people who are amassing the profit. They're not getting happier because once you get that rich, a bit more rich basically doesn't mean anything. So it's all just a big waste of time. And people are starting to wake up to the fact that it's just a big waste of time. And of course, these people at the top, they're sort of trapped into it as well, you know, because they too have not understood what wealth really is and are trying to accrue as much fictional, made-up wealth as they possibly can, thinking that if they could just get a bit more, it would make them happier. And it won't, obviously, because it's meaningless. And they're making everyone else miserable in order for them to achieve it. It's just totally insane. But I think something almost slightly more interesting, perhaps, or a parallel idea that is occurring here, is they're talking about how when the government gives people free money, in a sense, they don't want to work anymore. And so the government should stop giving them free money so they have to work. So what he's basically saying is that they're admitting that the work environment is so awful for so many people that you have to literally sort of hold a gun to their head, an economic gun, to force them back into work. I mean, is that the sort of society we want to be building? That's totally nuts, right? If you think about it that way, it's totally crazy. Like, their solution is to increase the threat level. And what we should be doing is the exact opposite. You give everyone UBI and it forces people to make the jobs more enticing to people because they don't have that gun to their heads anymore. So you have to make the conditions better. You have to make it so that people feel like they're working towards making the world a better place, not just to help their boss buy another yacht, something they can like get behind or feel like it's worthwhile in some way. But these people's solution is the exact opposite. What they want to do is just more whips. More whips, I think.
And we're seeing the loss of productivity in ways that the numbers aren't going to detect. But anyone who runs a company is going to tell you that when people want to work from home or tell you that they're working remotely, they're really, finding a new way to be able to use their time in other ways.
You know, this is a really weird thing, and it's something that I hear a lot from people in real life and online as well that I talk to. That when they work at home, they can figure out a way of providing the same amount of work for their boss, completing the same number of tasks to the same standard, but have more time to do other things too. Because quite often, a lot of the work that people get to do, are made to do, is kind of pointless, easy, and just time-consuming for no reason. And there are often ways around around that. But I think it's kind of revealing that the bosses don't want them to do that. Because it's like there should be a deal where the boss sort of decides how much work they want done, like what tasks they want completed for a certain amount of money. And if they're giving that money and they're getting those tasks completed, they shouldn't care about anything else. But here's the thing, they do. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird that they care? Isn't that weird that they care how you're spending your time? Like, if you're getting the tasks done by the time they want them to. Like, why? Well, because it's not all about those tasks. That's the only conclusion you can come to, isn't it? It's not really about those tasks. It's about keeping you occupied, keeping you doing stuff, making you look like you're working. And isn't that creepy and weird? I think it is. I think it's really, really weird and really creepy. So yeah, here's my advice for you. Rethink your life in terms of what wealth actually is. And that's time to spend with those people that you love and doing the things you love. And if that was what the meaning of wealth was in your life, what would you do differently? If money was no object, let's say you were a billionaire overnight and you didn't have to worry about that, what would you then go on to spend your time doing? And the chances are it's not just like diving into a big pool of money like Scrooge McDuck or just reading your bank account. Chances are it's spending time with people that you care about and building creative things that you want to build. You know, music, art, that sort of stuff. Maybe writing, expressing yourself, or maybe it's just smoking a big bong and chilling out. And then once you've got that, ask yourself, could I do that today? If, say, I cut down on some of the work I'm doing. Because if the purpose of work is supposed to lead you to the point where you can do the things you want, but in actual fact, it's preventing you from being able to do the things you want, it's not really fulfilling its task in your life, is it? You know, here's what I think we should be doing as a species, as a country or as a species, because technologically it's getting closer to being possible. We should be working towards a situation where we're not chained to desks all the time, where we don't have to do as much work as we did before. You know, and all this talk of productivity and people worried about productivity, it's like, what purpose does that productivity serve? That I think is a really important question that a lot of people have just seemed to forget. Just forget it is a question. Forget the question of, is this really what we all want to be doing with our lives, with our short time here? Is this how we want to be spending it? Anyway, I hope you got something out of this video. Hippie Hyena out. Goodbye.